Hey there, I'm DJ Wes. I hosted my own freeform show at KVRX called Outer Limits every Saturday night, and I was also the graphics director for a couple of semesters there. I'm currently back in Dallas, my hometown, where I'm working from home at my first job after graduating from UT this past summer. Right now I'm listening to a lot of shoegaze like Lush and Slowdive, and I think that has been influenced a lot by my time in college, especially at KVRX. Flipping through CDs in the new bin has sent me down many a rabbit hole looking for new bands and genres based on the tracks I specifically loved. And since I no longer have my own show, I try and fill the void college radio used to fill in me by making new Spotify playlists for friends. I think one of my favorite parts of being a DJ was the sense of curation and sharing that with others. Other than that, I miss all the friends I made over there at KVRX. The socials, the live shows, and just hanging out in the station were and always will be some of my favorite college memories. If you plan on joining KVRX soon, I highly recommend you put yourself out there and talk to as many people as you can, even if you're super shy like me, because something about KVRX really attracts some of the coolest people at UT, many of which will be your friends for the rest of your college years and maybe even your life. So to that, I say thanks for having me and congrats on your last show, Reno.
So my name is Ruben. I used to go by DJ Rube back in the day when I was in the booth. I had 3 shows: Buzz and Blurred, which was a shoegaze stoner rock, the Microdose, which was psychedelic rock, and Dissonant Delivery, which was like experimental and atonal type of music, if you can call it that. Where do I live now? I live in Austin, Texas, in a house on the east side with some friends. It's great. I love it. What brought me here? Austin's always been my home. You know, I grew up in the area. You know, there's no place like it. Well, I think right now I'm on a streak of Afrobeat and jazz genres. So artists like William Oyelber, I'm pretty sure that's how you pronounce the last name, Fela Kuti, jazz like Dorothy Ashby, Sun Ra, Pharoah Sanders. My music changed since last was with KVRX. Yeah, absolutely. I think it's always changing, and that's kind of the same for everyone. You know, you pick up songs as you go through life, and you know, some things stick, some things don't. Well, work, you know, I'm working as a copywriter at a growing digital marketing and advertising agency. They're called Sank for All Marketing Studio, and getting to watch this thing grow from around me and very rewarding. This year I started a short film that my roommates shot and directed for a Kodak 100 Feet of Film contest. They won the popular vote and they got their film to be screened at the Atlanta Film Festival. So it was a fun kind of project we all worked on together, and you know, it turns out that it did well. So that was pretty exciting. Called Spoviech. You know, I should be able to tell people where it's at, but you can follow me on Instagram or something or message me. I can get it to you. I want to know when I can go back to a concert. I miss being like packed in the dark, you know, with in a room with a bunch of swaggy strangers singing and yelling at each other. You know, I miss it so much. I'm sure someday soon my question will be answered. Since you are no longer in the booth, where do you get the same feelings of freedom and catharsis? You know, so I used to run a lot in high school, like 70 miles a week. I was crazy in the cross country. And so since the pandemic, I've picked that up, and it's been huge for me. Like every day, you know, I just have to run at least 3 to 4 miles, and it's just like this meditative state where I can let it all out and, you know, breathe and sweat and all that kind of stuff. It's very calming, you know, reset. But musically, I guess I feel is, you know, I'm also trying to learn, you know, how to play music myself. I'm trying to teach myself guitar and bass, you know, in the hopes of, you know, writing my own stuff someday. You know, because I just feel like I've been on all parts of the music spectrum. You know, I used to write about it, you know, as a music journalist, and you know, worked on the production side with the station, and you know, now it's just like might as well, you know, give this a go, try and make it myself. That's fun, getting to do that and put some effort into that, and it's a journey in itself. KVRX Fest, you know, that festival we pulled off 2019, yeah, it was crazy. We worked so hard for like a whole year, all the staff, just to pull off music festival with all these artists that we loved, and you know, people in the community loved too, and it was a big effort. Seeing it actually happen was awesome. You know, once in a lifetime opportunity, man. I love everyone I worked with on that. So that was definitely one of the best memories. Something you look back on when you're old and junk. You know, enjoy it. You know, enjoy being in that booth. It's a very intimate thing to just kind of be in this box and share these songs that are, you know, meaningful to you, and share that with a community who's willing to tune in, be it other DJs or friends, parents, whatever. people tune into this thing, so it's really cool to, take part in that. So enjoy it, and I know things are it's a weird time, but, like everything else, it's temporary. So, try and smile about what you can. My handles for, I think, everything is Ruben Pack. I think I'm most active on Instagram, and that's spelled RUBENPAQ. I'm honored, Reno, that you want to interview me. It's super freaking sweet. Love you, miss you, and we'll see you someday in the future.
Hey, my name's Kai. That was my DJ name too, because I wasn't very creative. I was a music director in 2017 and 2018. I had a show called Far East of East. It started off as like a showcase of all kinds of Asian music, but it really turned into mid-century J-pop. There was some interest at the station for newer J-pop as well as like 80s stuff, but mine was decidedly more 70s. I was obviously listening to that at the time, and nowadays I'm still really into that. Recently I'm getting really into, I guess, like British rave music. There was a show called that when I was at the station. Yeah, jungle hardcore. So I now live in Boston, but right after I left KVRX and UT, I moved to Japan for a bit to kind of grow into myself, and that was a lot of fun. I came back mainly because I was afraid of coronavirus bad in Japan, but psych, it's actually here. But I'm stuck here now. Since I'm no longer in the booth, where do you get that same feeling of freedom and catharsis? Definitely when I'm out in the field, aka birding or taking nature and wildlife photography. That's been my new thing since I moved back to the US. It's kind of the same as being in the booth. There's nobody there but you. Oh, the social. I think that was in 2017. I don't know if we ever had any more. It was at some venue that I'm pretty sure doesn't exist anymore. But it was a lot of fun. There was a lot of people, a lot of crazy costumes. Big Wise Brass Band was there as one of their first shows that I ever saw. Man, it was a lot of fun. Advice for new DJs. Just stop using Spotify. Stop using Spotify, stop using Apple Music. Get some friends, have some at the station to recommend you music, and really, really take to heart what they recommend, and from there move on, because Spotify really is not going to help you expand your horizons. It'll show you stuff that it knows you will like based on what you've already liked, but it is not going to, force you to try something new or get out of your comfort zone, and it's built that way. So not only that, but obviously there's the monetary aspect of that, and just like buying a $5 album from someone on Bandcamp is going to help them way more than a lifetime of streams on Spotify or Apple Music. And I really think that we should all be doing that instead of streaming. I think it's a really, really bad thing. Well, my Twitter is KF Bluebonnet, and that's it. Congrats, Reno, on your final show. I know you've been at the station for a long time, and I think it's super cool that you're doing this. All right, bye-bye.
Hi, everyone. My name's Kristen Balderas. When I was at KVRX, I was known as DJ Cool Blue, and I had a show called North by Northeast, where I put together playlists with locals, labels, and lineups coming out of the Northeast region of the U.S. So I was exploring music through the lens of geography and tried to look in on unique small local scenes in that area. I had the show for about a year, and very quickly was drawn to music being made in Philly. As far as what I'm doing now, I live here in Philly. In 2018, I graduated from UT and got a job as a video journalist at the Philadelphia Inquirer, and I got to move to my favorite city for music, which has been absolutely incredible. I always have been and still am really into the genres of indie, alternative, emo music, and that's been a really fun genre to explore in this city, both from a perspective of what has been made here and what's being made here now. I mean, for anyone listening who used to tune into my show, you would know that I could go on for hours about how much I love Marietta. And while I can't see them live because they're not making music anymore, I can walk around parts of the city and listen to the music and experience it in a new way. And that's been honestly just as great as getting to stand in a basement and see Carly Cosgrove rip a gig like 3 weeks after I saw someone share their Bandcamp on Twitter. Being in the booth is a really special experience, and I do find myself missing it sometimes, but one of the things I really loved doing on my show was giving a little background to the music I was broadcasting. So I would try to learn as much as I could about an artist before I played them on the show so that I could share as much as I could. I get to do that now all the time for my job. I meet people, I hear their story, and then I turn it into a video feature for the newspaper. I probably feel most at peace in the later part of that process when I'm editing and, I'm alone and focused and getting to put all the pieces together to some music. But learning about people in this city gives me the same kind of feeling that I got when I was able to learn about musicians for my show. I don't know if I have any super good advice for new DJs, as I've been out of the booth for a long time, but I will say in general to please support your favorite tiny artists. If you can do it monetarily, that's awesome. Pick up a shirt or grab a digital download. And if you can't, that's okay too. Just telling people what you like and recommending that they give it a listen can be really impactful as well. And if anybody out there wants to connect, my social media across all platforms is at Kristen Balderas. That's KristenBalderas. And before I go, I just want to say thanks so much to Reno for having me, and congrats on your last show. Thanks, everyone. Bye.
Hello, my name's Monica Trevino, and I went by DJ Misty during my time at KVRX. I hosted 2 different shows. The first one was called The Misty 60, and the second one was called Alamos City Roots. I hosted that one with my friend Alyssa, and we named it that because we were both from San Antonio. That's actually where I'm living right now. I moved back home to San Antonio after I graduated from UT a couple years ago. But I'm still in school. I went back to school at UTSA last year because I needed a few more classes before I can apply to physical therapy programs. I've been doing a lot of thinking, though, about my sleep schedule since I am on break right now, and how some people only need 6 or less hours and they're do just fine, but it feels like I need 8 or even 10 to be halfway decent. That really takes me back to my first show as a DJ because it was super late at night. It was practically the morning. But some of my favorite memories were the times that I had callers during those shows. I got really excited and I was really happy to talk to someone who was, listening to me and felt the need to call in. I did have some weird conversations, but I will say that was, one of my most fond memories of being a DJ. I mean, be safe if you're going to be out late at night, but being at the station in the middle of the night gave me a great sense of comfort, actually. So I miss being in the booth, and I don't have anything that comes quite close to it in my life right now. But the closest feeling I would say would be when I'm blasting my music in the car and I'm singing along. I started doing that as a stress reliever after, work. But I really get immersed in the music that way, and I would say it's, the closest thing I have to being in the booth. It definitely, being a DJ also influenced my music taste because all I listen to now is Latin music. And I started a DJ really into indie music and rock, but I started shifting more to world music after a couple years. That's where I'm still at. To new DJs, I would say have fun, listen to your fellow DJ shows. Don't be afraid to explore genres. I was shy, so don't be shy, but I know that's easier said than done. You can find me on Facebook pretty easily, and I'd be happy to chat or answer any questions you might have. So thank you to Reno for thinking of this super great idea. I can't wait to hear everybody. Thank you for having me. Good luck, everybody. Stay safe. Bye.
Hi, my name's Yassin, and I was DJ Teddy Grams. I hosted a show called Shuffle Library at KVRX where we played random tracks from the library and reacted to them live. I still live in Austin at 21st Street Co-op. I just came to a couple parties here, met all the people, and they were really cool. It had a really nice vibe. And I moved in, and it's the first place I've ever felt like home, so I've just stuck around since. I'm listening to a lot of bedroom pop and emo rap these days, so that's kind of changed a little bit because it's been getting bigger since I left KVRX. I've been listening to a lot of white boy neo-funk recently too. My girlfriend and I bought a kayak recently, so we've been doing that a lot. It's been really fun, although it's getting cold now, so we'll probably stop. I just finished Watership Down, and that was a really good book. I'd recommend it. A question that's been occupying my mind for a while is why they ever got rid of lime Skittles and replaced them with green apple. It's really bothering me. Since I'm no longer in the booth, I've been getting those same feelings from making music and making art. I've especially enjoyed doing acrylic pours. They're really satisfying and cathartic to watch. I really recommend it. A favorite memory from KVRX is one rotation that I went to that ended up turning into a big game of Foursquare on the Texas Student Media patio. It was a great time. We ended up playing for 3 or 4 hours. But besides that, just all the socials that I went to were a lot of fun. I haven't been to many. There was one in particular that I went to. I can't remember whose apartment it was, but it was on 24th and Leon, and I think it was Zane's farewell party. We were up till like 5 in the morning. There was a hot tub. We were just talking, having a good time all night. Some historic moments. I mean, I guess all the local lives that I went to were pretty historic. There was one in particular I remember that the Bishops were performing, and my friend Troy, who's the producer, was in the booth, and he kept dropping F-bombs left and right because he forgot about the rules for swearing. They had a lot of trouble with that. Advice for new DJs is just relax, have fun, enjoy the process, get to know all the people that you see. Just have fun at the station, go to rotations. I miss so many rotations, but they've all been a great time, the ones that I've been to. Keep up with me on Snapchat. That's the only social media I use. It's just my name, Yassin Helmy, Yassinhelmy. Happy final show, Reno. I wish you all the best. Congratulations on graduating and finishing your show. I know you're going to do bigger and brighter things in the future. I wish you all the best. Merry Christmas and Happy New Year.
Hello, I'm Zane Rusk. I don't have a former DJ name because I didn't have my own show on KVRX, which I regret. I would have tried to do a metal show because it seemed like it was a little underrepresented at KVRX and it would have been a lot of fun, but oh well. I helped with Local Live. I had one of the producer-director positions on the KVRX side from 2017 to when I graduated in 2018. And I started helping before that because my band came in and played Local Live, and me and Charlie Anderson we just knew we had to be there after that. We really wanted to be a part of that, and so I started showing up every Sunday. So yeah, I didn't have my own show, but I'm recording this right now on a Shure SM7B, which I think we had those in the DJ booth when I was there. So hopefully it'll give some magic to my voice and it won't sound like I'm a super untrained radio voice. Where do I live now? I live in State College, Pennsylvania, because I'm a grad student at Penn State, and I study acoustics, so science of sound stuff, and I'm trying to get into spatial audio technology. The music that I listen to, I like to think of my music tastes as having, or I think of them as constantly expanding rather than using the word changing, just because I listen to more stuff now, but I also sometimes listen to stuff that I've listened to in like middle school, or sometimes stuff I listened to in like third grade. Only a little ironically. I will say that I've heard a lot of K-pop recently because of my roommates and my girlfriend, but I mean, that's how I got into it, but I guess I would be lying if I didn't say that I enjoy it. Yeah, I also have been getting into 90s drum and bass and jungle stuff because it's cool to study to it, but I also have like usual suspects are metal, punk, post-hardcore, deathcore, death metal, all that sort of angry, nasty stuff. Something exciting in my world recently is that I inherited some cool clothes from my grandpa, and I'm looking thrift store fresh, you could say. Although thrift stores are not as big here as they are in Austin. That is a cool thing about Austin, actually. Fun fact. In my mind, I don't know. Question that's been occupying my mind since the pandemic started is how I can have a positive impact on the world, because sitting at home with all my grad student, research assistant, job security while there's healthcare workers out on the front lines, I was like, how does the stuff that I do matter, and how am I going to help someone someday? And I kind of came to terms with the fact I don't have all the answers right now. It's something to keep thinking about, to keep in the back of my mind as I continue on my career. I didn't get a freedom and catharsis feeling in the booth on my own radio show, but when Local Live got abandoned and everything locks into place and you feel a sense of community with all the people there that came to help with the show, and everybody's just stoked about the band that's going on, and they're awesome and everything sounds good and looks good, and we're recording it all. That's a big freedom catharsis feeling, and I get a little bit of that again when I am jamming with people or playing music with people. Some of my favorite memories related to KVRX are just, like I mentioned above, local live, some band comes in and is killing it, or in studio sessions, and just the camaraderie with the people that would come in and help, and just being impressed with everybody and the bands and everything. The best social that I went to, I can mainly think of just one that I went to. I think it was at Summer Rizzo's house. It was a Halloween party. That was really wild. My girlfriend and I dressed up as Kiki and Tombo from Kiki's Delivery Service. And I think Kian, as usual, took a lot of awesome pictures. Historic moment. Again, lots of local live and in-studio sessions to talk about. Shout out to when Belle got in Calliope musicals before she graduated. That was a big moment. I've got to see if that video is online. Besides that, I want to mention the going away party for my girlfriend and I that was put on and hosted by Hunter Brown, who was the videography lead at KVRX at the time. It was just an insane party that lasted until 4 a.m, and there's too many stories I could tell from that, so I won't go into them all here in the interest of time. But since Yassin kind of repped it on his blurb, I just wanted to say that I remember at the end of that party at like 5 or 6 in the morning, I walked all the way back to my house without a shirt because I had like lost my shirt because of the hot tub pool thing, and I was dumb. And I got my car and I was driving back to like give people rides home, and I ran into Yassin on the way home and just had this I ran into him in, like walking through West Campus on my way home, and I just had this moment of like, oh man, we're not gonna see each other for like ever or who knows how long. And I just thanked him for everything and always being super supportive of me and the work that I did at KVRX and the band that I was in at the time. Luckily, I have seen him since then. I went to Austin about a year ago and ran into him downtown. So shout out to Yassin, love you, man. Advice for new DJs, I would say, I'm pretty biased, but check out local live as soon as possible. I wish I would have got involved in it from my first day of undergrad, but I didn't discover it for a couple of years. It's a hotbed in terms of potential in networking and building relationships with other people at the station and other people in the music scene, and building skills in audio engineering and lighting and shooting video and broadcasting and video editing and booking. Just there's a ton of stuff you can get into, and I'd recommend it to anybody. Just go check it out and see if you're interested. Not everybody has to do it, but at least go check it out. And I would also say be careful with music elitism. It's a bonding experience, I think, to bash on an artist that you think sucks if you're like with another person that agrees. Like, that's fun. Like, you can make a meme out of it, but you can also alienate people, other people, new people at the station. So I just would warn about that. That was something I saw when I was there. People can keep up with me, or they can try, I guess. Give me a follow request on Instagram at ZTRUSK. That's all I've got right now. I have Facebook. You can also hit me up on there, but I don't use it a lot. Reno, congratulations, man. Thanks for hitting me up. It means a lot that you would remember me and ask me to do this. So, and this is awesome, like listening to other people's responses. So definitely thank you, and congrats on graduating, and enjoy the end.
Hi. Hello. This is 91.7 FM KVRX Austin, HD1, HD2, and I was your host for a good maybe 5 years or so, and my name was DJ Master Key. Before it was DJ Master Key, it was DJ Key Lock, and then day to day, my name is just Kian. And the shows I did on KVRX, there weren't that many of them. Or rather, I didn't do a new show every semester. I did 2 shows. First one for the first few years was called Plutonic Rock, and that was like a joke, I guess, because plutonic is like a geological term for a rock that is deep underground with a volcanic origin. And then platonic means like a friend, right? So platonic rock. It's like a friendly underground rock, which is ideally what I was going to be like bringing to people, I suppose. And then the other show I did was called Atmospheric Interference. And that show wasn't really a joke. I think when I initially came up with it, my premise in my head was, I am trapped in a weather satellite and I'm trying to send a message to the Earth through music by observing the weather and picking music that fits the weather. Ambient interference. I don't know. Something about that sounds like a weather phrase, right? Anyways, right now, I live in Elgin, Texas. Or maybe it's Elgin. Honestly, I'm not quite sure. I haven't talked to too many people who live here. I bought a house at the end of October here in Elgin. Kind of just because, 2020, a lot of my old habits kind of stopped. I haven't been going to shows, haven't been going out and about the town. And I had a lot of money just kind of sitting around. And I was thinking, well, if you're going to buy a house, this is probably the most money you're going to have at any one time for a while. So I bought a house. I've been slowly but surely filling that up. Lately, in terms of music, I haven't been too directed in what I'm listening to. There is a band called Gems. It's usually stylized all capital letters, GEMS. They have an album called Medusa Deluxe. And I found that to be fantastic music lately for driving around to, as I live in, it's not really empty, but it is very flat, as I live east of Austin, where it's very, sparse. I have to drive everywhere. A question that has been occupying my mind lately, as a homeowner, and also as just like a person who has always followed the news just as like a habit since like high school, I find myself caught up in the idea that we are living in like the Omni crisis, and that there are so many things that could go worse than they are already going. And I find myself wondering, what will break the camel's back, right? What's the straw that's like too much? Like, here's a fun thing you can look up. Type arsenic lake Great Slave Canada, and you'll find out that there is an abandoned gold mine in Canada with like hundreds of thousands of tons of arsenic dust right next to a lake in Canada called Great Slave, which is an evil sounding name, but apparently it's a French name, so it's different. Anyways, I don't know. There's just a lot that could go wrong with, arsenic, the water table, the environment, the economy, everything, it's all connected. I find that since I'm no longer like a DJ, I'm not listening or seeking out new music week to week, but rather I just dip into my huge library of, MP3s and like Spotify playlists and like my Spotify liked library. Just like hidden shuffle. It's like if at some point I liked something, I find I like it going into the future. I'm not too particular. What I do for fun mostly these days is try to do photography. And I say try because it's very much a thing where I need to go out and do it. Doing it incidentally is not as easy as it used to be, since, no parties, no bars, no concerts. You can't just roll up to the function with a camera in hand. And that used to be my favorite thing to do with KVRX. Anybody who knew me while I was very active knew if there was a party or a show or anything, I'd probably have a camera with me, and I'd probably just be taking candids of everything, because that was really fun for me. It was taking candid photos of people at KVRX parties, or just anything really. Around the station, day to day, having a camera with me. It was a lot of fun. And I guess I did that for documentary purposes, but also just so I could not necessarily have a record for myself, but so that something would be preserved somewhere, I guess, of what would otherwise be a very quick, and there's a word that's not reaching me. That's photography. Photography is fun and frustrating. If you're new to KVRX, I think my main advice would be, if it's possible, just hang out a lot and talk a lot. Don't be afraid to have really strong opinions. Because my favorite times at KVRX, arguably, were when people had really strong opinions that differed, and they just talked about it, and it was fun. Or even if they just had, if somebody had a really strong opinion that was, ridiculous, and people just went with it. Also, if ever there's going to be, a holiday party or something, don't be shy to go there and get really drunk, because that has always been a good time with the pals. If you want to keep up with me, the former DJ Master Key, you can find me online at ChuChuKian. Everywhere. That's my handle online. Kian. At some point, I'm going to make a blog. I don't know what the URL is, but it'll happen someday. Probably post about it on Instagram or Twitter, or both. All right. Thanks for listening.
Hiya, Reno and Reno's listeners. I hope you're having a good farewell show, Reno, and I hope that everything goes well for you in the future. So this is my wee recording. My name is Malcolm, and my DJ name was Malcolm. And my show on KVRX was Malcolm's House of House Music, which, because I was super original during my time there, I definitely took considerable liberties in what I was playing on my show a lot of the time. I also helped out with R. Martinez's football or soccer show a couple of times to talk about random average football players from the early 2000s that I kind of liked when I was 10. So where do I live now? I currently live in Gloucester. It's a bit weird, in southern England. There a few months ago from Glasgow, which I've been living before for the last couple of years. So what brought me there? I kind of got my dream job there as an archivist, so I'm living the high life in rural southern England for a year now, which has been pretty good. I feel like I've been listening to a lot more stuff now in the last few years, since when I was on KVRX, I was kind of a big, boring techno head. So I've been listening to a lot of Charlie XCX recently, along with a lot of disco still, and I recently got back into Scottish folk music again. I've been listening to a lot of Dick Gwan, mostly to get myself to sleep so I can dream about an independent socialist Scotland, which has been quite nice. New job is pretty exciting. Led me to escape kind of the post-graduation menial job cycle that I was doing for quite a while, and it means I'm actually doing something that I'm passionate about. So I've been pretty chuffed about that. So that's been quite an exciting new thing in my life. So the big question is, when do couples start spending Christmas with one another's families? It's been really eating at me. Whose family do you choose first? When do you start doing it? Is it when you move in together? When you have kids? It's been really digging at me. I don't really know when you start. I don't really know. I feel like I've become a shell of a man since those days. I think probably I get biggest feelings of catharsis from cracking random dad jokes with all the middle-aged women that I currently work with. I'm definitely proud of any time I get to make them laugh. It's been pretty fun. So I've got quite a few fond memories of KVRX because it was quite a nice time. So I'll lift off 3. So number 1 was probably scoring the only goal of the season for the KVRX football team, which is a definite high because I'm definitely not very good at football. And when I started playing with the KVRX team, everyone was like, God, you're amazing. And then I think I scored the only goal that we scored in about 5 or 6 games. And I think we lost that game about 5 or 6-1. So that was a definite high. Really enjoyed that. Another one was I used to study a lot there's a room beside the KVRX studio, which I think is used by the satire newspaper for the university. So I used to always go in there, do my work, because no one ever used that room. And then I'd come through and chat to anyone who was through in the main KVRX bit, and I'd be like, cool. I'm going to go back to my room and do my work. And I think I came through, had my lunch with some people, chatted for a while. And when I got back in, I think all the people from the satire newspaper were there. And they're like, oh, is this your stuff? And I was like, yeah. And like, oh, cool. We're going to start a meeting. Are you a new member? And I was like, no, I'm not a new member. And I think they spent about an hour thinking I was a new member. And I was just sitting there doing my random coursework. It's like, I've got no interest in joining you. Can you stop talking to me? That was kind of funny. Another one was, I said, over the Christmas period, I said I'd cover a show for someone, which was at 12 o'clock at midnight. So that night, but it said it on the 7th of December. So on the 6th of December, I went out for some drinks, had a nice time with my friends, and obviously it was 12 o'clock, 7th of December, so it was 12 o'clock that night, but I thought it was the next day. So I got a text at 12 o'clock at night saying like, hey man, where are you? You're meant to be doing the show. And I was like, oh God. But I was so steaming at that point. So I ran home, because I was dead committed. I ran home, I got my laptop, and I was like, cool. And then I ran all the way to the KVRX building. And I got there, and I didn't have my student card to get in. I was like, oh, for God's sake. So my friend Julia, who used to do stuff for KVRX, or Julie, she lived like relatively close by and closer than my house was. So I ran all the way to her house. And I was like, Julie, can I borrow your card, please? And she was like, yeah, of course. So I got her card, and I ran all the way back. And I was so drunk, and I slipped over these tiles that were on at Juiceland. I slipped over the tiles there, and I broke my wrist, which I didn't realise at the time. So I was like, oh God, my wrist really hurts. So I ran all the way back to the studio, did my show. The whole time I was like, God, my wrist is so sore. I wonder what I've done to it. Like, it's really sore. I didn't think it was broken. So after I'd done my show, went back, joined my friends, had some more drinks. And the whole time I was like, God, my wrist really hurts. And they're like, oh, it's probably broken. I was like, it definitely isn't, because I'd be screaming if it was broken. So I went to sleep. Next day I woke up. My wrist is like definitely broken. I was like, oh God. Like it was bent all out of place. It was horrible. So I went straight to the hospital. They were like, yeah, your wrist is broken. So don't think any other people can say they've broken their wrist whilst doing a KVRX show, which I'm pretty proud about. But yeah, that's it. Best social I ever went to, I think I only ever went to one social, and I can't remember whose house it was, but it was pretty fun. I remember really clearly is someone played You Can Call Me Al, and I was like, this is a pure tune. And then someone beside me, and I can't remember who said this, was like, yeah, man, KVRX, they like to really play ironic music at parties. And I was like, there's nothing ironic about this. It's a belt of a track. It's great. So that was the only thing I really remember. It was really fun though. Advice for new GZs: don't take yourself too seriously and just have fun. If you want to play some silly songs that aren't considered super cool, then just do it, because no one's stopping you. And just have a blast, because it's not going to last forever, and you might as well have some fun. For people wanting to keep up with me, probably on Facebook or Instagram, since I don't live in America anymore, let alone living in Austin, so it'd be kind of hard to get me in person, sadly. Hope to come back to sunny Texas again at some day soon. So Reno, I hope you have a great last show, and yeah, I hope to speak to you soon at some point. Thank you for inviting me to do this.
Hi, this is Julie. My DJ name was DJ Juju, and I hosted House of Dupree between the hours of 2 and 3 a.m. on Monday nights. I moved to Seattle, Washington after graduating. I was super obsessed with Twin Peaks and just like immediately packed up my stuff and was like, I'm gonna live the fantasy. Since graduating, I feel like I've definitely done just like a huge deep dive into house and techno music, more so compared to than I was in college, going off like Spotify playlists or recommended artists. Now I definitely find myself just like searching the depths of Bandcamp, as well as listening to mixes by DJs that I like, taking screenshots of all the parts where I'm like, ooh, I'm going to go back, see what that song was, and then going back and seeing like if there wasn't an ID shared. I've also been listening to a ton of Dean Blunt in the last 2 years. Shout out to Aaron from KVRX for introducing him to me. I definitely just find myself always returning to his music whenever nighttime begins at 3:30 p.m. in Seattle. I just definitely find his music the perfect soundtrack for my soul drifting through this post-grad life. So in the last year, I've finally gotten myself a big girl job. so I can finally afford some of the things in life that I've always wanted, such as just like musical instruments and a DJ controller. So I've been using my time during the core to kind of just like teach myself how to DJ, blend music together, make mixes, and it's been really fun. I'm kind of hoping to take it to the next level, just like as much practice as I can get. Yeah, definitely looking back on my KVRX career, I wish I definitely just used it more as an opportunity to connect with others who were doing that rather than, just making playlists off Spotify and like letting the crossfade do everything else. It's definitely just way more fun to blend the tracks together yourself, and just trying to learn like the mechanics of all of it is really interesting, and it sounds so much better. My favorite memory from KVRX would have to be, my favorite memories would have to be just like all the times I would be playing at like 3 a.m. in the morning thinking nobody's listening, and then I would get a call from someone just asking me like, hey, what's that track? You're doing a really good job. It's always really sweet to hear back from people who are listening from wherever they were in Austin or like around the world. It just was always like a special feeling. My advice for any KVRX DJs out there would be to stop relying on Spotify so much to do all the work for you. Don't trust the algorithm. Really just try to find music for yourself. Try to support artists through Bandcamp if you can, and listen to as many mixes as possible. That's definitely just like my favorite way to find music nowadays rather than going through Spotify. So DJ Juju is alive and well and still trying to do her thing. If you want to follow up, my handle on Instagram is JUJUSAURR, and you can follow me there till I eventually grow a pair and delete it. And you can also find my SoundCloud on there if you want to pop your booty to some of my mixes. And then you can also listen in every second Monday of the month on Entropy FM, which is a program started up by a KVRX alumni, Shamika.
So my name is Harold, and that was also my DJ name closer to the end of my radio career. It used to be DJ Harmony, like HAR-MONEY. But that joke doesn't translate well to audio, so I stopped doing it. And, I live in Austin. I've lived in Austin since 2001. I was stuck around after college, and I'm listening to Whole Lotta Red. Playboi Carti album just came out. Beyond that, I listened to the New Avalanches, which was unfortunately not great. And then, this year, 2020, I got really into Steely Dan, and that's kind of been what's the kind of music that I've been into lately. It's just dad rock or weird dude music. And I certainly listen to music less than when I was in KVRX, just because the demands of the, post-college world are that way. For now, I am a grad student back at UT Austin, since I kind of returned during a pandemic, and because, grad school is so much more than undergrad, I haven't pursued DJing, but I might next semester, the semester after that. Question that's been occupying my mind for a while: if I should DJ another show, maybe have a good time. I think I just love the booth so much. I think we'd have to be able to do it in person. That's my stipulation. So since you are no longer in the booth, where do you get the same feelings of freedom and catharsis? I mean, who does? Do I? I don't anywhere anymore. This year has just been none of that, none of those feelings. I'm trying to find new outlets for that. But I would say before this, the movies, and honestly, focusing my creative energies on film has helped me get through the year to some degree. I have so many good memories, and it's mostly centered around hanging out with my friends and grabbing Dawn on Tuesdays. I'm gonna say the Stack Morris house was the best one. There was one where there was a projector running karaoke, and I sang "Come On Eileen." That was pretty fun. With some historic moments, I just mentioned it to you. That was a historic moment in my heart. And advice for new DJs: don't be intimidated by any of the staff members. Everybody is really lame and socially awkward. Be creative with your show. Embrace, stuff that's left of the dial, stuff that's out there. stuff. Find a niche in programming where you can stand out and you can say, here's my show, and it's a unique contribution to the station. Where can people keep up with me? I'm on Twitter at HaroldTXT. I would say that's the main place to do that. Thanks for reaching out to me, Reno. It's been fun. It's been fun, hanging out with you and being on your show and vice versa. Best of luck with everything. Bye.
Hey everyone, my name is Colton. I was a DJ in KVRX from 2016 until 2019, and my DJ name was DJ Cardinal. My primary show was called Humble Passengers. In addition, I was also the booking director for the station for a brief period and volunteer director as well. After I moved out of Austin, I moved to Boston, Massachusetts, and I live in Cambridge now. And I moved there for the job. As far as my music tastes and how they've changed, post-college radio, a lot of the usual suspects are still there. I'm still listening to a lot of country and folk. Really have been into some krautrock and post-punk recently, and a lot of power pop. And I'm trying to dip my toe more into electronic music, so we'll see how that goes in the new year. But as far as, exciting updates in the world, reading the Replacements biography right now called Trouble Boys. Excellent. Would highly recommend. I'm really curious to see once, maybe in a year or whenever large gatherings start to happen, just how prolonged isolation, I guess, for lack of a better term, will affect people in large group settings, just the way social dynamics have changed. We'll see how that happens, how that works out. But this is one of my favorite questions, but since I'm no longer in the booth, where do I get the same feelings of freedom and catharsis? And that's a really interesting question, because I feel like my time in the booth was a super singular experience. I can't quite put my finger on it. There's something really special about subjecting the broad general populace to whatever you want them to hear at a certain point in time. I've kept up playing music where I can, writing where I can, and I feel like that sort of approximates it. I have so many memories from KVRX. Met a lot of my best friends in college there, and countless times just hanging around the station and with my friends. But the pinnacle of it was when I graduated. Myself and a few other DJs from the station all went camping in West Texas for a few days in the Davis Mountains and Marfa area. That's memories that I'll carry with me forever. It's very classic end of college experience, kicking and screaming into the real world, but it's fantastic. I think best social I went to was honestly anyone that we threw at the house that myself, Evan Stack, and Grant Morris lived at. I think historic moments, absolutely KVRX Fest, without a doubt. So many people's hearts and soul went into putting that on, and it was, I think, in a lot of ways exactly what we were envisioning it to be. Advice for new DJs is just lean into it. There's not a whole lot of other organizations that I found, at least, that bring people, so many disparate people together under just the commonality of we like music, something as general as that. And the organization allows time and space for really special conversations and an interesting venue to get to know other people and, create connections that you wouldn't have otherwise. I hate doing this, but follow me on Instagram. It's @_Colton Morris or @Colton Morris _ I can't remember which one, but it's one of those. Or Twitter @_NOTLOC. There was a library session that I put together with band Cyanide Vessel, who just put out a really good record this year called Ground to Swim. They played, it was one guy touring behind it at the time, the primary songwriter, Caleb, and it was right after Tom Petty died, and he played the most beautiful, gorgeous cover of American Girl. I think it's on the KVRX YouTube still, so definitely worth checking out. As far as which KVRX showcased is etched into my memory, I think there's two that come to mind, both South by showcases, and one of which was at French House, where I ended up running, and it was Remember Sports played along with a few bands on Orendal Records, which the record label run by the guy who's in Advanced Bass and Cassiotone for the Painfully Alone. Bands like Friends and a lot of great Philly bands are on that label. But so anyway, they played French House, and that was a fantastic experience. Also, when Omni played Summer Rizzo's Backyard, that was just absurd. It was so great. Shouts out to Reno for putting this together and really making KVRX, being a great example of, making KVRX your own as much as you want it to be, and kind of bending it to your own mindset and, what you want to see out of the station, and really just being a mainstay of the station. Really appreciate it. And thanks for putting this together. This is awesome. Thanks.
Hi, my name is Grant Morris, went by DJ Al Pacino, and I did 3 shows. I had a freeform show called By This River, and then I did 4 shows. A show called No Clearance, where I played songs that were featured as samples in hip-hop songs and other genres. A reggae show called Tough Like Iron, and I did another kind of fun freeform show where I would play clips and interesting audio that I found on YouTube called Night Flights, along with some electronic music. That's what I did on KVRX. Right now, I live in Houston, Texas, and I work in a marketing firm. I pretty much listen to the same music that I did when I was at KVRX. Listen to a lot of folk music, a lot of punk, a lot of just interesting stuff I find. But pretty much the same as when I was in KVRX. Not a whole lot exciting right now. I've been cooking a lot since lockdown, so a lot of new recipes, a lot of new things I've been cooking, so that's kind of what's been going on for me. Question that's been occupying my mind for a while is what do I want to do next, and how do I want to incorporate some of the more creative things that I enjoy with whatever I do next. I do miss being in the booth. I did a community radio show in Houston to get kind of a similar feeling of just getting out that sort of creative energy that was so good about KVRX and what I was able to channel. I've also been, making art on my computer, things like that, taking photos. There's a lot of things that I enjoy doing for fun, a lot of things I was able to sort of channel through KVRX that I want to continue to do. Sort of favorite memories from KVRX, I don't know. My first shift was from 2 a.m. to 4 a.m. I would ride my bike to the booth, and it was just really lots of good memories riding there in the dark, feeling kind of weird and unsure, and then riding back, I would feel sort of elated, like in the middle of the night, that I had just, done this really fun thing, really excited about what I'd done. So a lot of singular favorite memories, but just that was a favorite thing from when I first started. The best social I went to, I liked the ones that we did a lot at my house with Colton and Evan Stack. That was really fun. It was good to have a place where I could just, hang out, do karaoke, and then walk into the next room and fall asleep. It was pretty much ideal. But there were a lot of fun socials kind of all over the place. It was fun, doing Friendsgiving, and it was fun just having everyone all together. One time a guy came in and tried to sell us his book about Kabbalah, which was interesting. And there's just a lot of fun stuff that happened. I can't think of anything in particular. Advice for new DJs is, listen to as much different music as possible, try new things, just expand, just, do as much different art as you can, do as much different formats as you can with your show, and just whatever you do, just try as much stuff as possible, join different departments, make your own show poster, make your own promo, just do whatever you can, as long as you do it yourself and with your friends. People can keep up with me on social media, and I don't know. I post a lot of music on my Instagram story, and it's pretty good, so you should probably listen to that. That's it. Thanks.
Hello. My name is Evan Stack. I graduated from UT Austin in May 2019. I was a member of KVRX for 3 years, and I was a member of the staff for 2.5. I didn't really have a DJ name. It was sort of just my name. So I would introduce myself as DJ Evan or something similar. And the shows I did while on KVRX were a show called Angel Dust Kiss Ass, where I made playlists to fit certain actions I did another show called Moon House, where I played music from records or artists who I thought made good music to be listened to at night. I did another show called Motel Bottle Rocket, which was all music from movies and television. My freeform show, my first semester, was called No Fun Not Ever. I did another show called Future Brother, in which I curated playlists to new lines or stanzas of a poem that I wrote throughout the duration of the semester. And I was also a co-host, co-collaborator on the program One Perfect Song, along with Harold, DJ Barreled Blue Jeans. I currently live in Dallas, Texas. What brought me here was pursuit of a post-baccalaureate education. My degree at UT was in speech pathology and audiology, but I decided against going on to receive further required training to become a speech therapist, and instead opted to pursue medical school. In order to do so, I had to enroll in a specialized program for pre-med coursework at UTD in order to complete a mixture of requisite science courses in preparation for the MCAT or med school. So that is what brought me here. I am also from this area, and I am back home living in the same environment in which I was during high school, during breaks in college. The music I'm listening to now is probably the same as the music that I was listening to when I was at KVRX. A mixture of alternative rock, indie rock, jazz, hip-hop, punk rock, noise music, ambient music. I've been listening lately a lot to the famous Tortoise record called TNT, especially a live performance of it in full at the Pitchfork Midwinter Festival from February 2019. It's a really special performance of a really special record. What all is happening in my world currently is pretty straightforward. I am just about done with my pre-med courses. I occasionally work as a babysitter. I have worked as well as a tutor of general chemistry. I am hoping to work as a tutor of organic chemistry, a course I just finished and did well in. I am studying for the MCAT portion every day in preparation to apply for med school 2021 summer and hopefully enter med school 2022 fall. A question that has been occupying my mind for a while, which is a good question in and of itself, is probably a question regarding what I'm going to do with the rest of my life and how I want to pursue my future existence. I'd like to know more about how I can balance my creative pursuits alongside my professional pursuits. That's something that I'd really be interested in learning more about. And I think there is a fine line there, but there's also a very sturdy balance. I think you can design for yourself a good plan to maintain involvement in both domains of your life for a long period of time. Since I am no longer in the booth, the same feelings of freedom and catharsis probably come from performing music. I think the act of performance is in and of itself a conceptually abstract action. Performance can take on many forms, and it doesn't necessarily have to be accompanied by any immediate represented proficiency in an instrument or anything of that sort, which is often how performance gets shown. But performance is definitely something like spinning records in a booth and finding a way in which you can blend a lot of songs together, uniting them through a common theme. I think performing music is definitely like that too. I think similar feelings come from both experiences, though they are quite different. But that's kind of how I get those same feelings of freedom and catharsis. I also enjoy watching movies. In the same way that I explored new records while at KVRX, I am trying my hardest to unearth lots of new movies and watch works of lots of different directors to expand my cinema horizons. Some of my favorite memories and or stories from KVRX include, definitively so, the house parties we would host, many of which took place at the house where I lived my senior year, along with two incredible roommates, amazing people, best human beings I've ever had the privilege of meeting. Colton Morris and Grant Morris, famed fraternal twins of KVRX. Just a phenomenal pair of people. We had lots of fun gatherings at that house. Another one of my favorite memories from KVRX is when we put together a program of experimental classical music to perform at the Butler School as a part of a KVRX ensemble. That was an extremely fun experience. The best social I went to was probably one at our house, and it was probably one of the socials in the spring. It might have been the May social, the one we had before we all parted ways. That was a blast, lots of fun, and it was at our house, which was 819 East 31st Street, Austin, Texas 78705, right off of Medical Arts and on a portion of 31st Street that is further east from Eastwoods Park, which separates 31st West and East. What are some historic moments in KVRX? Probably when the station got its start. That was a big one, and one that I definitely remember because I was a part of it in a really special way. And without the incredible, inimitable Gab Soon, whose assistance was at the core of the construction of this event, it would not have happened. But I am speaking of the KVRX Festival, the inaugural KVRX Festival, which happened my senior year. That was an incredibly fun time. We had an absolute blast. Lots of fun to put together. Lots of cool bands who played from out of state, from in-state, from all over Texas. Very cool. Advice for new DJs. This is a good question. The most important piece of advice I could offer to a new DJ is to express themselves and to feel comfortable doing so, as expression is critical to you feeling like you are among friends and among cohorts in a really important and enriching organization. It can be tough to do so at times, but the people who run KVRX now are some of the warmest people I've ever met. I know that they would accept people with good ideas, with kind thoughts, and with a genuine interest in music and radio. People can keep up with me on social media if they so desire, at KCatsnave. That's KCATSNAVE. You add a 2, the number 2, to the end of it, and you will find my Twitter account. Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure getting to share some information about my experience in KVRX. Reno, lots of love. Thank you. Have a wonderful evening. Bye-bye.